once again. The lockdown restrictions might have been relaxed slightly, but I'm not going anywhere, so I'm going to carry on with the Silverbird game reviews. And today we're going to look at a game called Eyeball. This was released in 1987 in the Silver Range packaging. Very common game to find on eBay and other retro gaming sites. Cost me £1.50, probably bought it maybe 5 years ago, because I've got pretty fond memories of this game from when I was a kid. So let's see how it stacks up to my adult mind. Let's take a look at the packaging and then take a look at the game. So as always, let's start with a look at the front cover of the game in that Silver Range packaging. Annoyingly, someone's written on this, and I'd never noticed that until I came to review it. Someone's written the number 96 on there in front of the character's head. I've no idea what that might mean. Could mean anything, but there we go. I'm not going to worry too much about it. So we've got a nice image of the character from Eyeball with shooting some lasers, and pretty nice logo as well. Fairly nondescript background otherwise, just a couple of explosions I think there is there. Spine is just blue with the logo on, and the back is also just all blue, so not really much of an image to wrap round on this one. Got a couple of screenshots there. I think they're probably from the Spectrum version. And a very brief description of the game. Pick it up for Rainbow Ripple, which means absolutely nothing to me. I would have thought Rainbow Ripple was an ice cream flavour, but there you go. And oh yeah, it says it's a crash smash, so Spectrum fans obviously got a recommendation there. Inside the cassette inlay we've got the now familiar list of Silverbird games, or Silver Range games as they were at this point, for the different systems, so we won't dwell on that too much. Also very familiar is the mail order page on the inside. So let's move on to the instructions. You can see that Eyeball was copyright 1987 Timothy Kloss. Very detailed instructions, lots of information there. The key points are that all your spherical friends, Loverball, Eddyball, Glowball and Knowball, have been captured. You've got to traverse through a number of defence zones armed only with a bubble gun and basically rescue your friends. There's lots of things you can collect. Power discs it mentions, which give you different kinds of power-ups, be that weaponry or speed boosts and things like that. And also another notable thing to mention is that if you let your bubble gun fire for too long, it will overheat and you'll have to wait for it to cool down. So then we've got the loading instructions, which are pretty standard, and also how to play the game. So you've got keyboard controls, or you can, as always, use a joystick in port 2. So there's certainly keys there that can only be used if you've collected the relevant piece of weaponry, which is the smart missile or the molecule bomb. Okay, so here's the title screen, and you may not have heard it because the speech doesn't come out very loud of the computer for some reason, out of the speakers, but it's got some very good speech at the beginning of this tune, which is another Rob Hubbard tune, and another pretty decent one. Lots of drum beats and kind of techno sounds. So yeah, there's some good speech in this game, a good sampled speech, but you might not hear it too well, but because for some reason, my Commodore 64, the speech is really quiet on it, so maybe you'll hear it, maybe you won't. But he says Eyeball at the beginning anyway. So here's the title screen. As I've said, you've got the information there that the Commodore version's by Andrew Betts. It's got pictures of all the characters you've got to rescue, and also your character Eyeballs at the top there. So you've got to collect Loverball, Eddyball, Glowball and Knowball. And then there's just the two options on the title screen, which is basically for in-game, whether you play with sound effects or music on. So we'll start with just the sound effects. Again, this is another game where you can't have both for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why, but that's how it was programmed. So we'll start the game with sound effects, and there's nothing else to say about the title screen other than it's got a good tune on it. So let's get on with the game. So I'm going to start slowly. So you materialise on the screen, you're the ball obviously, the grey sort of spherical looking ball, as a ball would be. And I've died already before I can even show you what you're supposed to do. So all these enemies materialise pretty randomly. Wow, that didn't last very long there. These enemies materialise pretty randomly, and while they're flashing you can actually get past them without them doing you any damage. As soon as they're solid, you crash into them, you die, as you've seen several times already. There are also some power-ups to collect, like the instructions said, but it did say one would materialise straight away on the screen, and I didn't see it. And I've already lost all my lives and got a game over whilst trying to demonstrate that. This game is hard. You've got constantly respawning enemies, you've got a main character that's very large and also very bouncy. When you bounce off these objects, then he dies almost all the time because you just can't control the bounce of him. So yeah, it's pretty tricky. Also, he only shoots up and down, he doesn't shoot left and right, which is quite difficult when you're on the same plane as some of the other enemies. As you can see, not doing very well here. Also, anything that flashes, like this thing, oh, I didn't even get to it. That game over again. Wow. Not going well so far. But just to demonstrate, if you hit anything that flashes, yep, that kills you as well. So it's basically a combination of a shoot 'em up and a sort of maze game, I suppose, for want of a better description. You've got to make your way to the top of the screen to complete the level and then move on to another level which is very similar. And what I've learned from playing it a few times is the best thing to do is just try and get to the top of the screen as quickly as you can. Don't try and kill the enemies. The enemies are constantly respawning, and like I say, you can go through them while they're glowing, but as soon as they become sort of solid, then they will kill you at the touch. So yeah, the best approach is just to get to the top of the screen as quickly as you can, shoot everything. You can't shoot constantly because your gun overheats, so the odds are really stacked against you. There are various bits of the maze that kill you like that, and also bits that are like a dead end, so you've got to learn those as well. What? I didn't even see what happened. Oh, okay, I've collected a turbo boost power up. I don't even know which thing that was, I just ran into it. So yeah, oh, there's another power up there, but I can't get to it and I'm probably going to die now. Oh no, I've got round it. Yeah, so the power up's the little sort of spinning disc that doesn't glow when it materialises by the looks of things. Oh, and there we go, I've completed level 1. I didn't even know I got to the top of the level there. But I lost several lives while doing so. So let's move on to level 2, which is more of the same basically, except blue instead of red. Slightly different sprites, or I should say background graphics, they're not really sprites, but otherwise very similar. There's another power up there and I've missed it, because basically it's easy just to avoid everything and get to the top of the screen as quickly as you can. Now you do get a score, that's in the bottom right of the screen. It's very tiny text. Bugger, I've just hit another death object, and there we go, that's game over. And that score has now vanished completely, so I don't know what I got, because it's so tiny on the bottom right of the screen, and also as soon as you die you don't see it again. No high score on the main menu. Oh, I'm playing again, just accidentally hit the fire button. So graphics wise it's pretty nice. I mean, you can see the sort of legacy of it being a Spectrum game first and foremost in some of the graphics, but they've done a nice sort of metallic sheen on some of the characters. Certainly your main character's quite nice. Sounds are also pretty good as well. A bit reminiscent of a game like Whizball. Oh, something killed me. Oh no, that was another power up again. Now something's killed me. I can't even tell when I've collected a power up. It's so sort of frantic just getting through this stuff that when a power up does appear, I've actually got no clue other than the noise that sounds that. Oh dear. There's a bit of inertia on your guy, so he kind of floats around like, what the hell happened there? I didn't even touch anything. There's a bit of inertia on your character as well, so he kind of floats a little bit, so then when he bounces off stuff he really kind of moves quite quickly. So yeah, it's infuriatingly difficult, and that's game over again. So I'm just going to switch to playing the music in game just for a change. But I'll be honest with you, this review is pretty much over. That's my turbo boost power up, but now I can't tell whether I've collected it or not because there's no noise to tell me, and then I lost another life straight away as well. So the music is great, you can't argue with that. Oh, I've got a single laser now, what does that do? Oh, okay, now I can shoot lasers to the side. That makes things slightly more useful, although I'm still a bit dubious that the best option isn't just to make your way to the top of the screen as quickly as possible, but that might help a little bit. It's the first time I've ever collected more than just the speed up power up, which you always get first. Oops. Again, there is little speech. Ooh, smart missile. No idea. Was that the one that you had to press spacebar on? Nope, seemingly not. So yeah, with power-ups, maybe it becomes a little bit easier, although you're still hitting these sort of things. Interestingly, in the instructions it says you lose a power-up every time you die, but I haven't lost any of mine, as far as I can tell. Yeah, so you can actually shoot your power-ups, so okay, that's the end of level 1. So yeah, as I was saying, there is some speech. When he dies, he says, oops, I think, or something like that, or oh no. And also when it's game over, it says game over, but again, the speech is really quiet, so you probably can't hear it. I mean, I can't hear it, hardly, so... No, dead again, and that's game over again. Gotta say, although the music is good, I prefer playing it with just the sound effects, so one more go. Okay, so there's the turbo boost collected. Let's see if I can spot another power up when it shows up and actually collect it. No, I could die though. So yeah, this features some of my least favourite elements to a game, and the first of those is constantly respawning enemies, really irritating, and also the second is a character that you just can't control very well. It's really difficult to control him. There's that single laser again, which might help. Oh, that makes a nice satisfying noise, which I've never heard before until now. So yeah, those two things combined. Now, one of my favourite games, in fact my favourite game of all time on the Commodore 64 is Whizball, and you could argue you get an uncontrollable character in that, but it's not long before you can control him, and it's actually skillful to try and get to control him, whereas in this, you just take a wrong nudge against some object and yeah, you're dead basically. I've got 3 lives left, so is there a chance I might get to the 3rd level here? Nope, because I've just crashed into that. This will be my last playthrough of the game because it's just infuriatingly difficult and not really that much fun either, because there's not a lot of skill involved. It's just make your way to the top as quickly as you can and hope not to get killed by something. Oh great, I'm stuck in a dead end there now as well. I just can't get out of that without hitting something. The fact that your character's so big as well, and all the enemies are so big, and they've got tiny little gaps to try and sneak through. How am I going to get through that if I bounce off the side of the screen? And there we go, that's game over. So I've had enough. As you can probably guess, my review of this game is not going to be very glowing. So I don't think I can say much more about it, and I'm just going to get on to the scores. And firstly, packaging I think was pretty nice, a little bit bland in the backgrounds on the front cover and the back cover compared to some of the other Silver Range releases, but overall quite a nice front cover on it, and the instructions were very comprehensive. So 6 out of 10 for the packaging. Presentation, not too bad, like this title screen. The music's good, although I'm not really counting that because it's also in-game music. There's 2 options of music on or sound effects on, so I'm just going to go with 5 for the presentation. The lack of a high score table, or even just telling you what your last score was when you go back to the title screen, is a bit of an oversight in my opinion. Don't like that at all. Graphics, again, pretty bland. The main sort of character sprite's quite decent. Some of the enemy sprites look alright. The sort of objects that you have to negotiate around are pretty bland, and it does belie the fact that it came from a Spectrum game in the first place. So I'm going to go 5 out of 10 for graphics. Sound is excellent. The Rob Hubbard tune is good. The sound effects are decent as well, so 8 out of 10 for the sound. And then we get to playability, and I can't really give it more than 3 because it's infuriatingly difficult. You bounce all over the place, constantly respawning enemies, and it's not really a great lot of fun anyway. It's just a race to the top of the screen, so I'm pretty much bored of it after 4 or 5 plays. As I mentioned before I started the review, I did have fond memories of this from when I was a kid. I think it might have just been the music and the fact it had that speech, because the game itself is pretty drab. So overall that gives it a score of 5.4, and obviously you can probably guess I don't really think it was worth the $1.99 asking price, even though I did buy it when I was a kid and then bought it again when I was an adult, so silly me. So there you go. If you had interesting, fond or otherwise memories of Eyeball, then let us know in the comments, and I'm going to come back and do another game review in a few days. So thanks for watching and see you soon.